I live in Hod HaSharon, which is outside of Tel Aviv.
I know.
But I was born in a kibbutz up north, kibbutz Hamadia, which is
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, did you go to Hebrew University at all?
yeah.
Did you know Professor Seymour Fox?
I know of him. Yes.
Oh, well, the school is named after him,
Yes.
too.
Yes.
That was my brother.
I know of him.
Okay, friends, we are back.
I'm glad to meet you.
We have Rabbi Talia here from the.
All right, I think we're ready to begin if we want to quiet down here. So.
Rabbi Talia from Jerusalem, from the program, the rabbinical program at HUC, the head of the rabbinical program at HUC. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Toda. Thank you for having me. This is a really warm invitation, and it's a gift to be here. And I'm gratitude for everything that you've been doing, your kehillah, your congregation is doing for Israel and for Israelis and for the Jewish people. It's really hard for me to speak out loud. I'm not like cantors and rabbis in the congregation, but I'll do my best. And if I can just ask you to maybe come closer, because I won't be able to raise my voice. I have very sort of soft voice, and just this is what I come with. I want to start by saying something. This is going to be a very personal presentation. Okay, this is not going to be talking about Israel and about the war in Israel. This is me trying to articulate myself in the situation. Okay? And I'm going to start 24 hours after. We were supposed to start the school year on Monday, after having a break for 4 months almost during the summer and after the high holidays. And after 24 hours of not sleeping, I realized about 6 a.m. in the morning that I have no words. Literally, I couldn't even say good morning. I couldn't even ask someone in my family something about how they were, because the word just didn't come out. And for someone who's a writer and who's a speaker and who's a rabbi, lacking of any words was the first time I experienced something. And reflecting on the Hebrew language, what I've realized then, 6 o'clock in the morning, 24 hours after October 7th. And October 7th is not a day, it's a disaster that is still evolving. So after the first 24 hours of this disaster, I realized that in Hebrew, there is a correlation between alimut, which is violence, and ilmut, which is being muted. When someone experiences alimut, they are speechless. They are ilmim, and it's the same verb. It's the same root. It's the same understanding. When something so horrible is going on, there is really nothing you can say, and words, they don't mean anything in this new world that we are not even waking up to, because it's been an ongoing disaster that we are just witnessing. And because words is what we have as human beings in order to understand one another and to speak and to be present and to lead and to think and to dream, to just be. I've decided that what I am going to do for the first few weeks is try to build a new vocabulary. And I did that with some of the students, trying to see what it is that we can say and want to say during this time, simply when there is just nothing that we didn't even understand the situation. So for a while, I put together a program, and we called it the New Alphabet. And I just wanted to share some of it with you tonight. And of course, I changed it to English. And I chose 8 letters to talk about. The first 7 for October 7th. And the 8th is for the aftermath. And this is how we're just going to go, letter by letter. And I'm just going to say the word and then maybe try to explain what it means and its new understanding within the context of October 7th. And then we can just reflect on it together. So the first one, A, the first word that came to mind was ason. Ason is a disaster. Ason is a tragedy.
A disaster. Okay.
But in a level that really, you can't really say anything when ason arrives, when ason happens. And this is the first ason for the Jewish people in that capacity after the Shoah. And historically, this is what it is. It's been 100 years almost. And over the course of time, of a century, we are now in the midst of a terrible ason, tragedy, that again is happening to the Jewish people. And then the second word in Aleph, or in A, also in Hebrew in Aleph, is anti-Semitism. Now, I remember saying it to myself many years before this year, always reading about anti-Semitism and trying to understand what it feels to be under a climate that has anti-Semitism. And as an Israeli, I was very, very innocent to feel that I don't know what it means because Israelis don't suffer from anti-Semitism. And what a ridiculous thought that was. Just different form of anti-Semitism, right? And I can't even try to understand what is happening here, because I don't live here. And I know that what is happening here is terrible and very scary. And again, within this 100 years of history, we have all the good reasons to be very scared of anti-Semitism. And my heart prays for everyone here, along with all my prayers for everyone in the world that needs our attentions right now. So from anti-Semitism and ason, the other words that comes to mind, and now I'm moving to be, is belonging. Shayachut in
כן,
Hebrew.
אני אמרתי ש...
Yeah, I heard you. Belonging, and I would love to hear what you feel about this word and this idea and this emotion. I think belonging for me is first of all in my heart, and then in other, in my mind and in my thoughts and in my being and in my doing. But I am, for the first time in my life as an adult, I feel belong to the Jewish people in ways that I haven't experienced before. And it's a really powerful experience to be part of our people. And it's only fortunate that it's happening in these circumstances. But these are the circumstances, and this is the feeling. And what I can say, and this is leading me into C, which is civil society, is that I am so proud to be a Jew. And I'm so proud to be Israeli. I wasn't for many years. Israel has caused me and many of us a lot of heart pains. I wasn't proud of being Israeli. I wasn't proud of being Israeli outside of Israel. I wasn't proud of being Israeli inside Israel. I am very proud today. And that's leading me to C, which is civil society. And I really don't know what you know about civil society at the aftermath of October 7th. But the phase that comes to mind is from Pirkei Avot, במקום שאין אנשים, השתדל להיות איש. How would you translate this?
In a place where there are no mensches, be a mensch.
Say it again.
In a place where there are no mensches, be a mensch.
And I would even say
Be
be a human.
Yeah.
Be a
That's what
human
it
In a
being.
place,
Human.
in
Where
a
there are
place
no
that
men.
heard that
or in a
before.
place that lacks humanity, show humanity.
Wasn't that on your thing last?
It was just on something, yeah.
That-
It's in Lunch and Learn last week.
Yeah.
Pirkei
Yeah.
Avot.
No, I just used that quote last week.
Oh.
It's a good one.
And I can't even start to explain what has happened since. But people sacrifice their lives for others. To save others from the fire. To be together. To stand along with all the families of the hostage and those who've lost their loved ones. To go and clean houses and to be with women who are carrying babies, their husbands are now in war, to cook thousands of meals every day. I started a school, just like I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. That's what I know how to do. It's teaching English and math and art, Judaism.
That's good. A friend of mine went, my physical therapist went now to work for a week to volunteer, and one of the stories she came back with is the one you're talking about. Everybody cooking meals and everybody taking care of everybody, and there's a feeling of togetherness.
And picking up fruits and vegetables from the fields. And maybe when you come to Israel, you'll get to do that.
So that's what my friend.
I won't.
does.
But
Maybe some people,
But I
the
can
need-
cook meals.
the need continues.
No, I just can't. I can't get over that.
And every person who was not fighting was fighting,
Was helping.
was fighting for the soul of the country, was present where the government was not present.
First we fought for the democracy and then the same people. Now,
Not only the same people,
brothers and sisters.
everyone.
Well, no, but I'm just saying that
Children,
movement
yes.
changed
Yes,
from one
yes,
subject to another.
from one subject to another. I think it's the same subject.
It is the
No, no,
same.
what I meant is first it was
Fighting for democracy, but I think it's fighting for Israel,
Yeah.
for
That's
the
really
values
soul
of
of the country.
Israel, for the
Yeah.
soul of the
Soul of the
country. I
country.
We're
think
having the
it's
same fight here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are having a terrible problem because everybody now has decided that we are the aggressor. And they have no idea whatsoever. If you listen to people who, they were at the shul who came from Bari and Kfar Aza, and they explained what they went through. And everybody is ignoring it and saying, well, the Palestinians are the victims,
Yeah.
and we are the aggressor. And we did not cause this problem.
Let's let Rabbi speak.
Let's let the rabbi.
And then we can ask questions.
So from a country that people fought against one another, it became a country where people just pulled sleeve and just made life where there was just a lot of death. And that's a beautiful sight. That's a beautiful thing to witness. I think it's a beautiful thing to remember that that's who we are. This is what we do. We come together.
Right.
This is what the Jewish people is all about. We come together. But it's unfortunate that we are going in cycles, that we are going like this. And this is bringing me to D, which is dead end. That some way, in whatever way that is possible, we need to change the narrative. We cannot continue to move in cycles, tragedy every few years, devastation, assault, anti-Semitism, destruction of Israel again, another war. Again, there is a quote of Yehuda Amichai, famous poet in Israel. He wrote a play many years ago. The title of the play was You and Me and the Next War. At ve'ani ve'hamilchama haba'a. It's always about getting ready to what's coming next. History, wars are not in history. Wars are also in the future. And another writer in Israel very famously always said there are 3 seasons in Israel. There is winter, there is summer, and then there is a season of wars. And just, don't we want something else for us? Don't we want a different story? How can we continue with this dead end of our destiny? No other nation has that narrative. No other nation. Something must happen, right? And I think we understand this now, in our generation, at this time of history, that wars belong to the past. No more. The world cannot have more wars going on. E is a really hard one. is about evil. Now, we're not I'm not going to say anything graphic. And some of us chose to see more than others. But after noticing that level of cruelty and brutality and evil, we can never go back to who we were. We will never be the same. We look the same, I look the same, and I am not the same person. And I will never be. And for me, it's important to witness that I've seen the worst of human action, the worst of human behavior. I've been a witness to evil in my own life. I think many of us grew up on survivors. We've heard their stories or read their stories and saw movies of the Shoah. But we never met Nazis. We met survivors. But this is different. We saw the worst. They were at our homes, taking lives and doing terrible things to people that we know and love in our life today. And for me, that understanding is about telling myself that I am an eyewitness not only to the kindness of the world and to the presence of the divine and to chesed. I am an eyewitness of evil. And I carry that experience as a human being. I know what it looks like now. I didn't know before. F. Few words. Future. Fear. Faith. I want to say something, and we don't know each other. You don't know me, and I don't know you. And I know that Israel have disappointed American Jewry for a long time. I know that. I know that Israelis have disappointed liberal Judaism in Israel, in America. Not only the government. Israel as an entity, as a spiritual being. What has happened in Israel for a very long time was different than what many of us hoped and dreamed for. And it's a very disappointing being. Israel disappointed Israelis as well, but that's a different story. What I am asking of you is not to give up on us.
No.
But I'm not saying it out of the void. I'm saying it because I think and I feel, and for many years coming here, and as I said, I was not proud of Israel outside of Israel, and for a good reason. And I did feel that some voices within the context of American Jewry had left Israel. And what I'm asking of you is, don't give up on us. Because our future is together.
We are together. We are one people.
We will not give up.
And it's okay to be fearful for the future of Israel and for the future of the Jewish people, but also to have faith that
I think you have to have faith. I read something very interesting that the Qataris are thinking of giving up the
Yes,
Hamas leaders
Leaders.
in their country if there is no ceasefire, no giving back of hostages, and I think that's really
I
possible.
didn't hear that, but I'm very heartened to hear that.
Yep.
I can't say I believe it.
Oh, I do.
Can
Why
you
would
say
they
it again
do
a little
that?
louder?
Sure.
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that?
Because
Never
I-
mind.
First, say what it is.
Never mind.
Repeat what it is you said.
the Qatar government has said that if there is no ceasefire and the hostages do not come back to Israel, they will deport the high-level Hamas.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, the ones that are living in
In
million
their
dollar
country.
villas?
Correct.
News.
And I think that's a good thing.
Uh,
I think you have to, because I think
All right,
eventually.
let's go back.
Go ahead, and I'll
Bye-bye.
tell you what I
Bye-bye.
think.
I don't know if I believe that because we all know that there are things that people are saying to the camera, and there are things that people are saying off camera.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different discourses.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just someone we all know was just quoted like off record. Okay,
yes, like
so.
they would say one thing in the Arab press.
Yeah,
and
so
another thing in the-
I really don't know. It's not what I believe in. Do I believe Qatar? No, Qatar has done some service and has done a lot of wrong. Okay, so it's all very complicated.
Very.
And I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not sure what's Qatar interest in all of this. I am not sure. I'm not positive I know. So I don't know if I can speak on behalf of the Qatar leadership and really understand their mind, because I really don't. But what I want to say is about ceasefire, and I'm very close to G, and G is the hard one. G is me talking about Gaza.
How's
But
that?
before I say this, I want to say the further peace goes away, the louder the calling must be. We need to shout for peace.
Okay.
We need to make it as loud as possible, even though it seems not in the future. Even though we have no faith that it's going to be any sooner or any closer or just ever happened. But Israel was built on the idea of shalom among nations. Israel was a dream of having a peaceful place to live and prosper. Israel was not built on the notion of war, it was built on the notion of peace. Therefore, we must continue to shout as loud as we can that peace will hear our voices and will come back into the life of Israel, into the life of the Jewish people. Now G and Gaza, or Aza, just like we say in Israel.
How's it?
But is this recorded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, should I turn it off at this point?
No.
We can shut it.
I'm going to be bold. Because I think we have to be. I think we all come from some sort of history where our families all experienced wars. Our grandparents, our parents, our ancestors, we know wars. Whether we went through them personally or our family went through them. Doesn't matter where in the world our families were. Doesn't matter. And I don't believe there is one person in the world that thinks that a war should continue. If someone supports a war, don't believe them. If someone supports a war, it only means they're scared for their lives.
Yeah, nothing there.
Okay? Nobody wants no one to be bombed. Nobody is pro bombs. Nobody is pro bombing Gaza. No. Nobody wants any civilians to be killed anywhere in the world. Anywhere.
Like my cousins.
So my conversations to your cousins and to myself and to us is, war can teach us one thing: empathy. That's the lesson that we need to grow into during war. And it's a universal lesson. It teaches us the power of empathy. And it's so hard. It's so hard to have empathy during war. It's so hard to have empathy when we're not at war. It's even harder now. And I pray that even the worst of leaders, whether they're from Qatar or from anywhere, will grow into the notion of empathy to your enemy. This is the greatest shiur lesson I draw from being a person of faith, of having God present in my life. What does God want of me? To be empathetic for other human beings, even in the worst times. And do I have guilt? I have guilt. Do I grieve? I grieve.
Why guilt?
Because terrible things are happening.
Yeah.
And guilt, I want to say, I don't know if you heard this over the course of time since October 7th, but the guilt of the survivors.
Yes, very much
Survivors'
so.
guilt.
But that was the same as those who survived the war, those who survived the camp. The terrible guilt.
So survivors, and we're survivors, we carry guilt.
So
Yeah.
guilt,
Yes. And many of the hostages now are coming to the rallies and to the demonstrations because they feel a sense of responsibility.
so your guilt is in the face of the vicissitudes of your fellow Israelis.
Of the random tragedy that happens to others and not to me.
Yes.
That's the
In
guilt.
Israel.
Yes.
And these were the 7 letters. And now we have to change for the 8th. Now it's the aftermath.
But it's hurt the Israelis in terms of they now are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and it's not hurting them and they're, because you could see in the soldiers mocking the whole, with the videos came out, it's very bad.
It's all
Because
bad.
it turned them into something that we don't want them to do.
So the hostage, this is my new tefillin. Okay,
We
This
all
is-
have this.
yeah, this is what I wear to remember, and for people who are looking at me to remember. And
Is that your 8th word?
that's
H.
it's H, hostages.
Do you think there would be peace if the hostages were all returned?
No,
No, but look, they.
wait. This is important for me to say.
Please, please.
Let her start, please.
It is probably really terrible to say, but true, that some of these hostages will not return. And Israel will never be the same without its hostages. because if we can just think of what's the core soul of Israel, you unfold everything there is, the soul of the country, the soul of the people. What's the one core value that is left? That you never leave any soul behind. Never. Never. And if we give up on that core main motive of who we are, we're giving up on us. About what Israel is all about, about what the Jewish people are all about. You don't leave anyone behind. And I don't know what's going to happen, but unless they're back, we will never recover. And so the last word in H should be hope, right? Now when you will come to Israel soon, some of you, and maybe Kent or Dan, when you're just now in Israel, now Israel is probably, it has the most beautiful season. And I will tell you why. Not because it's winter, and our winter are very short, as you know, because there's something miraculous that happens every winter in Israel. And this is the blossom of the almond trees. Shkediot. It's a beautiful tree. People go all the way to Japan to see the cherries bloom. This is even more magnificent. You have to see such a beautiful sight to see an almond tree blossom. Beautiful flowers. And it's all over Israel. Every place there is a community, a city, a kibbutz, a desert, a field. There is an almond tree right now that it's blossoming. And it's so pretty. And it's such a short season during the year. And when you see these almond trees, we can remember that the first time in our traditions, in our history, that almond trees were mentioned was in the Haftarah, in the prophet of Jeremiah. And Jeremiah the prophet describing terrible destruction of the first temple. He's an eyewitness to the destruction of the first temple. And at some point during this process of him telling us what he is witnessing and seeing, God is asking him, "What do you see, Jeremiah?" And he answers, "I see a branch of an almond tree." He doesn't see the flowers, just the branch. Now, we will blossom. We will flourish. We will be at our best. And we will come out of this destruction. But hope is a very slow process. Hope is not a disaster that happens like in one day. Hope is a very step-by-step path. That's the dynamic of hope. So this is the path that we are now taking together. And we are people of hope. We carry our hopes wherever we go. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו. So this is what I pray. This is what we all pray for. לארץ ציון וירושלים. To be free people.
השקטי התורה, והשמש בזורחת, ציפורים מראש כל גב, מסרבסרות את בוחר, ט"ו בשבט הגיע, חג האילנות. ט"ו בשבט הגיע, חג האילנות. השקטי הפורחת. That just will make me think of it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Shavuot Tov. Shavuot Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi Talia, for sharing such meaningful and personal and beautiful reflections on what it is to be in Israel, to be an Israeli, to be a Jew.